As if watching it the first time wasn't enough, now I'm going to recap it. At least we get to do the rest of Week 8 in the Sun Belt after going over that Arkansas State and South Alabama mess. It's Locked On Sun Belt.
You are Locked On Sun Belt, your daily podcast on the Sun Belt Conference, part of the Locked On Podcast Network. Your team every day.
All right, Dave Schultz, Locked On Sunbelt, your teams every day. Today's episode brought to you by FanDuel. Right now, new customers can bet just $5, and if your bet wins, you get $300 in bonus bets to use across the app. Download the app today. All right, yes, I actually stayed up and watched the ball game. Maybe that's why I'm so exhausted today. We'll go over South Alabama and Arkansas State, and let's be honest, the only good thing that came out of that ball game was a last-second field goal for Arkansas State. There's nothing positive other than that. Has JMU and ODU lost some of its luster because ODU lost? And we'll preview the rest of the week in the Sun Belt. We're doing this on Thursday. I mentioned yesterday. We're doing it on Thursday because we're going to have a special guest, hopefully, to do more on the JMU ODU ball game. But Thursday morning before my work, and hopefully I'm not late, is the only time our schedule's matched up. So let's talk about this ball game last night, and it was just ugly. There's nothing else to say about it. There was nothing pleasant watching this ball game. Fans from other schools were tagging me saying, what is going on? One fan said, I thought the Cajuns were bad, but oh my goodness. And the first half ending on a penalty is hilarious, to be honest with you. Arkansas State either trying to throw a little out to get into field goal range or a Hail Mary. Legal procedure with less than 10 seconds to go, 10-second runoff, end of the half. I mean, apropos. Now, let's talk about the end of the ballgame. All right. Arkansas State actually had a chance to tie it up. Maybe no pass. Oh, there was pass interference, but they didn't call it. Right. The Cajuns' middle linebacker grabbed, more like holding, because he grabbed him before the ball was thrown, or legal contact. And would have been a first down. Well, no, they would have had to play over again. They just would have had to play over again. But none of this 14-12. And I guarantee you, if you poll the members of the media, the radio broadcasters, the TV guys, maybe not TV guys because they're not as familiar with what was going on, but the fans in the stands and the fans behind the South Alabama bench, they knew exactly how that game was going to end. They knew exactly it was going to be 15-14 Arkansas State. However, how we got there was a little bit interesting because South Alabama went down the field. They're looking to put this game away. A touchdown puts the game away. I don't think a field goal does. Makes you have to kick, makes you have to get a touchdown. But there was some intentionally not going quickly on Butch Jones and Arkansas State's part. They didn't want to give them ball back with anything. We're either going to win it or lose it here. We're not going to give you 45 seconds to go down the field. Although, let's be honest, watching that South Alabama offense, it is side to side. There's nothing downfield, not at all. They either do RPO. They're pretty good at running the football, and they're hoping that Devin Voisin can make a guy miss on the outside, or Anthony Eager. Do they throw it? Do they ever throw it to Anthony Eager? Can he catch? He can run, but the wide receivers can't block because they're called for holding every single time. So that offense is really, really, I think, rather easy to defend. I don't have to do posts, flies, double moves. They're doing everything underneath, and hopefully someone makes a play to make the other team miss. It is not all that difficult of an offense to defend. Running the football is good, but that's about it. So they go down there and in line for going to kick a field goal. TV announcer was like, they're going to kick this, right? They're not actually going to go for this. And it would have been, I believe, a 42-yard field goal. No, 41 or 42-yard field goal. It was 4th and 3 from the 24-yard line. All right. And this is when things got interesting. All right. Because Major Applewhite did a good job. We're going to line up to go for it, and they drew him off sides. If you guys go free play, going to be a first down. And it's actually going to be 5 yards. All right. It's going to be down to the Arkansas State 19. But yet the wide receiver on the outside was held, and it should have been pass interference. Major Applewhite loses his cool. And I can't tell you the last time if I've ever seen this before. A coach get a 15-yard penalty for arguing with an official. I'd have to think about that. I don't remember that at all. It's not like Butch Jones was, a choir boy on the other sideline to begin the ball game, but they called something on Major Applewhite. We didn't actually see him go nuts, but he got a flag. And that moved it back 15 yards. So it goes to the 19, and we're back to the 34-yard line. What are we doing? And so now it's still 1st and 10, oddly enough. And South Alabama is still moving the ball a little bit. Let's see what they did here. They have some of these plays wrong and out of order because it says Keenan Phillips rushed to the left for 39 yards. He did not do that. Maybe, they are off on the play-by-play. I can't tell you how shocked I am. Bullock did get it down to the 9. They made a good play. They got it down there. But I still think Arkansas State would have had enough time to go down and try and score a touchdown. And what makes you think, based on the season, that they were going to stop him? Now, the defense for South Alabama played pretty well. It's tough to complain too much about giving up 1 touchdown and 3 field goals. Like, you're going to win that ball game more times than not. Did I have a fan say that they just don't get off the field? Yeah, you got to get off the field on 3rd and 15. And in these days, maybe back in the day they didn't go for it, but if you get 13 on 3rd and 15, you're going to go for it, especially in plus territory, and they can't get off the field. And that may have been the ball game earlier. They converted a 3rd and 15, getting a bunch on 13, getting a bunch on 3rd down, and then converting it on 4th. But, it's just ugly. These statistics are awful. Pass yards, 118 pass yards for South Alabama. Penalties, 115 yards. What are you doing? These two teams combined for 25 penalties, 14 on South Alabama, 11 on Arkansas State. They combined for 29 points. They had a total of 36 first downs between them and 25 penalties. It's bad football. Now, of course, everyone's jumping off, is Major Applewhite gone? It's a tough pill to swallow. I will say I saw the AD standing on the sidelines, not necessarily right behind Major Applewhite, but in view, because he would have seen the whole thing go down. And it's not like Major Applewhite was wrong. It was pass interference. Can't lose your cool. But that's being under the pressure of 1 and 5. That's what that pressure is. Think about these coaches. I'm sorry, James Franklin should not have gotten fired. All right, we can do a whole episode on that. What's a better job? Indiana at $6 million a year or Penn State at $8 to $10 million a year? The only benefit of going to Penn State for $8 to $10 million a year is if you don't win a championship, you get fired and you leave with $50 million. But that's a different episode. But it just shows the kind of pressure that these guys are under, and especially a team that has not played well since they played Tulane and Auburn. Now, they played pretty well against Troy. We got to give them that. They did play well against Troy. Came up short, but they played pretty well against Troy, but just have not played good football this year, and certainly not complimentary. Offense was pretty good. Then the offense has slowed down because it's not difficult to defend. And the defense played extremely well this time, but but to no avail because your offense couldn't put more than 2 touchdowns on the board and misses a chippy field goal at the end, which, again, I don't think would have been enough, but would have forced Arkansas State to kick or to go for the touchdown. All right, enough of that one. I feel like I had to shower before bed and watching that ball game last night. Let's move on. Has JMU and ODU lost some of its luster with ODU losing last week? We'll do that right after I tell you about Supply House and FanDuel. When the opening whistle blows on a new repair, get your crew moving with Supply House. Order today and see parts on your doorstep tomorrow. Over 280,000 plumbing, HVAC, and electrical items from the most trusted brands in the business. Their real-time inventory and honest lead times keep you from punting projects, while their industry-leading customer service always has your blind side covered. Need parts for a fast project? Supply House has next-day delivery. Talk about a game changer. The part finder tools and 3D schematics can save you hours on jobs where every detail matters. And their trade master perks, like priority shipping and dedicated support, make the whole process smoother. Join the free Trade Master program today and score serious perks like priority shipping, lower prices, and dedicated support line. Visit supplyhouse.com to sign up for free and use promo code SHCollege5 for 5% off your first order. That's supplyhouse.com. Real people, real services. And FanDuel. The NFL season is here, and FanDuel has an offer you don't want to miss. Right now, new customers can bet just $5 and get $300 in bonus bets if you win. That's right. Pick a bet, put down $5, and if it hits, you'll unlock $300 in bonus bets to use across the app. Makes watching football even more exciting when you've got a little something riding on the action. Whether you're a casual fan or love diving into stats, FanDuel makes the game day experience so much better. So what are you waiting for? Visit FanDuel.com to download the FanDuel app today and get started. All right, Dave Schultz, Lockdown Sunbelt, your teams every day. I am noticing in the new place, I don't know if it's just bigger, maybe higher ceilings. Yeah, a little bit of an echo. Tell me if you guys can hear a difference. I actually have better microphones than one I used for Sunbelt Media Day, but I had to order a part. So we may switch things up here when that part comes in, probably for next week, as the case may be. All right, let's talk about this JMU ODU game. Has it lost some of its luster? Because this was it is a nationally televised game. There's going to be 2 5-1 teams, both with close losses to Power 4 teams. ODU's would have been more impressive because they lost Indiana, whereas, to be honest with you, I think Louisville's Louisville. Louisville is I think under Jeff Brom, 9-3 ball club, maybe 10-2. All right, they always. Wouldn't mind if they lost at Virginia, but you can't lose at home to Virginia. What are you doing? Come on. Anyway, different podcast. Sorry, Dalton. Anyway, has it lost some of its luster? Of course. All right, it's just not that big of a ball game compared to what it was. The only way it becomes a bigger ball game is if JMU can win it and run the table. And does ODU win it, or does ODU lose and still run the table after this loss? But now that's 3 losses compared to going 10-2. I thought the only way that the Sunbelt rep would get in is if the loser of this game had 2 losses and ran the table. That's what I thought. All right. Now, as of the ball game, let's see what that line is, because it had gone down. All right. It absolutely had gone down. It's 1.5. Let me see. That's ESPN. Let's check out FanDuel. The reason I use the ESPN, it's all in one spot on FanDuel. You got to search for it on FanDuel. But nonetheless, I thought that it started at 3. Circa had it started at 3, right, on Sunday, and it's down to 1.5. Which means, it's FanDuel's got a 1.5 as well, which means Old Dominion would be favored on a neutral site. Now, JMU's defense is better. All right, JMU's defense is really good. Okay. Their offense, not very consistent. I happen to think ODU is the better football team. If they come out and turn the ball over, they're going to get blown out again. But if they hold on to the football and have one or less turnovers, I think they'll win. Because ODU's got a pretty good defense too. Not as good as JMU's, but ODU's offense is better than JMU's offense. So ODU's defense doesn't have to be quite as good because they're going up against JMU's offense. And all of these initials are giving me a headache. But that's what I think. I'm going to take ODU in this football game. Certainly not. I mean, it really is a pick'em game. The other reason I'm taking them, and I'm shocked at the line, but it just feels like, especially in the pros, maybe not so much in college, but seems to be week to week. That you can play like ODU did last week and come out and play really well this week. They can turn their whole season around with a win. Because then you could have ODU be 10-2, and JMU can still finish 10-2, and maybe that gets JMU into the playoff. That's going to be tough. You got to wait for everything else to, all the rest of the dust to settle. And I'm sure they're going to do everything they can not to have a group of 5 team in there, whatever the case may be. We'll see. But I think it has lost its luster. We'll see if ODU plays well. Now, some of that going to be on JMU, of course. Was some of that on Marshall last week? You bet. Got to play better than you did last week. Got to be better. I think if ODU hangs on to the football, they're going to win the football game. That's my thought. All right. But it's going to be quite the scene, right? This game's going to be sold out. It's going to be picturesque Harrisonburg. I'm sure they'll show the plans to, better the stadium. It's gonna be all positive for the Sun Belt as long as it's a close game. If someone lays an egg, that's not going to help, and it doesn't matter who it is. It doesn't matter if it's ODU laying an egg again or JMU laying an egg. And it depends how they do it, right? You can lay an egg or be dominated, kind of like ODU was last week. That is the difference in the scenario. All right, let's go over the rest of the Sun Belt. This is a big week. There are some great, intriguing matchups, and I'm looking forward to working all day and then coming home and watching. So we're going to miss some of the action. All right, we'll do that right after I tell you about Mazda. Mazda crafts cars for those who do more than simply move. Mazda delivers confidence with every ride. More awards than anyone else as of August 2025. From footwork to breathwork, athletes sweat all the details. Mazda brings the same intention to how we craft every model. You can feel Japanese craftsmanship in every detail. From the metallic accents to the available Napa leather upholstery, you can make everyday drives feel like anything but. From smooth handling to intuitive controls, and with all-wheel drive standard in every crossover SUV, you can drive with confidence through almost any season. Like our players, we sweat every detail because when you make every move count, impossible becomes irrelevant. Mazda, move and be moved. All right, Dave Schultz, Locked On Sunbelt, your teams every day. All right, we have some really good matchups in this weekend. All right, you got homecoming with the Cajuns. This is another interesting line. Southern Miss is favored by 3.5. Why would Southern Miss be only favored by 3.5 on the road? Southern Miss is 4-2. They're 2-0 in the Sun Belt. Cajuns are 2-4, 1-1 in the Sun Belt. All right. The big news out of Louisiana is Walker Howard was practicing this week, although right now Lunch Winfield is the starting quarterback. But it would be interesting. You don't really want to see it, but who would come in first? I can't imagine it'd be Walker Howard. I guess it would be Daniel Beal, but We've seen how that goes. This is another, can Southern Miss take the next step? Because for all intents and purposes, just like last week against Georgia Southern, this is a game they should win. You could say handily, but last week's game against Georgia Southern was being handily, and then it wasn't. So they should win this football game. Southern Miss is the better football team. The Cajuns are saying they're going to play like they did against JMU, which will score a grand total of 14 points with the team that turned the ball over a bunch. So, and again, there's a difference between what Major Applewhite did and what Mike Desimo did. And on the road, 17.5-point underdog, you got to take a 10-point lead into the halftime. I feel like that was peer pressure. Scared money don't make money. He should have taken the points. All right. I know that sounds like second guessing, but if you're averaging 5 yards a carry, okay. But at the time, they're averaging 2.3. I know they needed 1, but they're getting 0 and 1 as often as they're getting 3. It's a bad idea. Bad idea. But that's a big ball game. All right. Cajuns win. They're tied with Southern Miss. They're both 2 and 1. That's how big that game is. So this is the kind of game where you can see if Southern Miss can take it to the next level. They went into UL a couple of years ago. I was at that ball game and ran all over them. Let's see what happens this week. All right. Another one is Troy and Monroe. Troy, rightfully 6.5-point favorites. They playing very well, although winning sometimes by the hair on their chinny chin chin. And I liked what Jared Parker said about, we talked about, was told years and years ago that football comes down to just a couple plays, right? You change a couple plays, whether it's a penalty or a reception or an interception, and the whole game changes. It doesn't have to be 30 plays. It's like 2 or 3. And he says, look, that ball hits the upright and goes in for Texas State, we lose. It hits the upright and goes out, we win. It's very humbling because that's how close it is from winning and losing, and that's nothing I did or did not do, right? We kind of caught a break when that's the case. And so we'll see if they can build on that. They'd like to get off to a better start. And you figure Monroe is going to play better. Bryant Vincent went off, I think on the TV or the radio right after the ball game. And he creamed his team for the way they played against Coastal Carolina. And he took responsibility. So, they had some intense practices this week. And I would look for Monroe maybe to cover because Troy doesn't really blow anybody out. But I wouldn't be surprised if Troy wins the ball game. Troy's a better football team. Can they run the football? Do they have to against ULM? Because ULM's not going to give up 277 yards again at home, are they? Come on. But it's another big game, right? Again, Warhawks 1-1, Trojans 2-0. If ULM and the Cajuns both win, that's 4 teams at 2-1. Along with our Arkansas State. Arkansas State's 2-1. That's 5 teams all in the West that are 5. That would be 2-1 in the Sun Belt. That's how big this weekend is. All right, elsewhere, you do have App State against Coastal Carolina. Coastal Carolina already 2-1 in the Sun Belt. This is in lovely Boone, North Carolina. App State 10.5-point favorites. Presume we're going with J.J. Cole again. Why not? It's worked for a couple of weeks. This is again. Coastal Carolina is just an enigma, right? They either get blown out or do the blowing out. I presume App State's going to win this ball game. Presume they're going to cover. It's not like Coastal Carolina can't win on the road. They went into Mobile and beat South Alabama badly And last week they beat ULM badly. Let's see what happens. This week I got App State. App State could be 5-2. That's an awfully nice season for Dow Loggins in year number 1. You got to like that. All right. We talked JMU and Old Dominion. We'll probably do more of that Friday. Stay tuned for that. All right. Marshall, this is another interesting line. Marshall hosting Texas State. Why is Marshall 3-3, 1-1 in the Sun Belt, a 2.5-point underdog at home to Texas State, who's 3-3, 0-2 in the Sun Belt? And Texas State hasn't. Texas State's lost a couple of close ball games, right? They have given up big leads, both to Troy and Arkansas State. Well, maybe not. Was Arkansas State back and forth? Let's see here. Yes, that was 10-10 at half, and they scored 6 touchdowns in the second half. They couldn't stop them. But is there any hotter quarterback than Carlos Del Rio Wilson? Once they locked in on him, I think the game before the Cajuns, Eastern Kentucky, he's been outstanding. And again, tough to make those adjustments, what they did against Cajuns. But they look good last week. All right. Tore apart ODU. You don't think that gives that team confidence? Sure does. I like Marshall in this one. I think Texas State could start 0-3. I like Marshall in this one. Only 2.5 points. So if they're going to win, I think they are going to cover. And then to wrap things up, you have Georgia State at Georgia Southern. Hanging on to your job bowl. Again, with the buyout that Clay Helton has to get, I don't think he's going anywhere. I think I saw it's like $3 million. So he's not going anywhere. But lose to Georgia State, that's going to be tough. Georgia State loses to Georgia Southern and looks the way they have over the last, the only game they played well in at all was JMU, and they played good defensively, but they scored a grand total of 7 points. And they led early. Led 7-0 and didn't do anything. They led 7-0 at half. Didn't do anything after their touchdown early on in the game. And so, again, we just want to see progress from Del McGee's guys, right? It's not about necessarily winning, although it is. But they're not coming close to winning, JMU notwithstanding. So this is a huge ball games all the way around. You could have, I think that's right. You could have a 5-way tie in the Sun Belt West. That would be crazy, right? Southern Miss loses to the Cajuns. ULM beats Troy. Then you would have the Cajuns, ULM, Arkansas State, Troy, and Southern Miss all 2-1. Wow. How about that? So lots going on outside of just JMU and ODU. All right. All right. Thank you very much for tuning in. The goal is to have, I'll give it away. I'm not jinxing it because if it happens, it happens. If it doesn't, it doesn't. Rocky Boyman is on the call for ESPN for JMU and ODU. He's going to join me for Friday's episode. So let's see if that happens. Again, got to do it first thing in the morning on Thursday, actually. And so hopefully it get done. And I'm working late Thursday. So we may actually record, if you can imagine this, record the breaks at work in between the actual workday and the event that we're working late tomorrow night. Nice little new bottle is dropping. New bottles are dropping Thursday night and should be available at our gift shop on a Friday. All right. Thanks again for tuning in. I do appreciate it. Again, everybody who watched that football game last night, you guys deserve some sort of medal because, I mean, they put college football back 20 years. And it'd be one thing if the refs were wrong, although they did miss a couple penalties. Can you imagine that, calling 25 penalties combined, and they still missed a couple? I mean, what do we do? But, they were calling holds, and the TV replay showed holds. They did. So, again, everybody have a great Thursday. We'll be back Friday. Let me know what you guys think. Put your picks in the comments, and let me know who you guys think are going to win. Maybe pull off an upset. We did have Troy last week. I guess technically Marshall is an upset. I'm not sure that it should be, but apparently that it is. And I got Southern Miss winning. I think they're just a better football team. Outside of about 20 minutes, we have not really seen a whole lot from the Cajuns this year. No, not too much whatsoever. All right. We'll be back on Friday with another edition of Locked On Sunbelt, your teams every day. Enjoy Thursday. We'll talk to you on Friday.